welcome to a new session. And in this session, we are going to see how to point a URL or a domain name to an IP address using the AWS. So here, we are going to be using the AWS Route53 service. So please do review the presentation which I had given to you in the earlier lesson as a documentation. So please do review to that so that you get a brief idea on the DNS records such as A record, AA record, what is CNAME, all this information I've already given there. What is a zone file, what is a top level domain, what is a sub level domain, and what are domain names. I have explained pretty much in detail there. So please do go through that presentation before starting with this particular session. All right. So now coming back to the session here. So I have a Lightsail instance which I had already created, and there is a WordPress website which is already available on the internet. All right. So you see that there is there is 3.236.42.121. So if we use the IP address, we can go and reach the website, but we wouldn't want that, right? So we really want something like a URL. So URL where the user can go and reach to your website. So we are not going to be giving the IP address directly. So how do we do that? So the first step is to buy a domain name. So how are we going to buy a domain name? All right. So there are two options. So option one is we can go ahead and buy a domain name directly from AWS, and we can point the IP address to the domain name within the AWS itself, or we can also go ahead and purchase the domain name from a third-party vendor like GoDaddy or Namecheap or Fastcomat. So there are many domain registrars. So the GoDaddy, what is a domain registrar? A domain registrar is a company or a website or a service who is selling the domain names to us. Let's say, for example, GoDaddy. Let's say I'll show you about the AWS in a bit, but before that, let's say I want to buy a website name, okay, to point to this WordPress blog. So what I'm going to do is I want to first buy a domain name. So how do I buy a domain name? You can go and find a domain name. Go to a website like GoDaddy.com. All right, and from there we can find the you can choose a domain name. Let's say I'm gonna choose something like potmakersforyou.com. Okay, let me search if this domain name is available. Okay, so I think potmakersforyou is there. All right, yeah, potmakersforyou.com is pretty much available. So if I can add to cart, GoDaddy is giving me at a very cheap option of like 299 rupees here. Since I'm logging in, I'm trying to search from the from India, so it's showing me like 299 rupees, so which is pretty much very cheap for me. All right, or let's say if you want to go for .in, you have all the options here. Potmakers. I searched for potmakers. All right, but it's going to give you all these options here, but I'm not going to be using this. And then you can continue to cart, make the purchase and all that. Now I'm going to share with you a website, a domain name which I had already purchased. All right, and I'm going to show that for you now. Just a second there. Okay. So I have a website, okay, which is called as rambutancafe.com. So this is a work in progress for one of my customers, and they are a cafe there, and they wanted to set up a WordPress website for them. So I'm giving them a very cost effective solution also, because the AWS is going to be charging us very less there for the WordPress instance. All right, coming back to the main agenda of the course. So we want to see how to point the IP address. What we want to do right now is, when the user is going to type in rambutancafe.com, it has to point to the IP address 3.236.42.121. So how are we going to do that? Okay, so that's what we are going to see. So this is a two-step process that we need to do. Okay, so let's do it one by one. So the first step, what we want to do is go to this website called DNS Checker. Okay, search on Google for DNS Checker, and you have this website dnschecker.org. All right, click on it. Okay, and then type in your the website name or the domain name, rambuttoncafe.com, and you have to search for the A record. Okay, let me click for the search, and you see what I'm getting right now, which it's getting pointed towards 34.102, 136, 180. All right, so that's where it is pointing to. So let me see what is happening when I'm going to try with rambuttoncafe.com. So it is telling me it is parked free courtesy of GoDaddy.com. So the reason is GoDaddy is the one which is hosting this domain name, and I have purchased the domain name from GoDaddy, right? So normally GoDaddy does that. It just shows up like parked free courtesy of GoDaddy.com. All right. So where is this information coming from? So we know that it is all about the DNS and the DNS records, which is going to show where the website is coming from. Okay, so now let me go to the website GoDaddy here. All right, and click on manage domain, and once I click on manage domain, I should be seeing the domain settings. So what is most important here? Go and click on manage DNS. Okay, so when I click on manage DNS, I'm going to see a few records which are related to the website, the rambuttoncafe.com. So the A record is currently showing as parked. Okay, the NS record. So NS record is the name server. So the name server currently is using GoDaddy as the name server. Why? Because I've hosted within GoDaddy, right? So I bought the domain name from GoDaddy. So every single domain registrar are going to give you this particular panel. The name may not be exactly managed DNS. It may be different names like naming tools or DNS tools. But GoDaddy is pretty much straightforward. They show it as DNS records. All right. So the next step that I want to do is, okay, so now we have the name server here. Good. So now let us go back to the AWS, and within the AWS we want to use the service which is called as Route53. All right. So go and search for Route53 and click on Route53 here. So once I click on Route53, I should be having the page here. I have one hosted zone already, and yeah, it was hosted already. Let me delete this. Okay, just a second. It is asking me to delete all the records first. First step is I have to delete the, okay, it is delete the record domain might become unavailable on the internet. Okay, so let me delete this. All right, that was deleted. Then let me delete this record also. All right, let me just click on delete. Okay, now delete the zone. Okay, delete. All right, so that was an old one. So you pretty much saw how to delete the zone also. So let's go ahead and create the zone first. So the first step is, so I can buy the domain name from AWS also. So how do I do that? See, you have the option here which is called as registered domain. So you remember we checked for the potmakersforyou.com, right? So let me go and click on check, and let's see what AWS is telling. Okay, potmakersforyou.com is available, and the AWS is charging me $12 per year. Okay, so I'm not going to buy that. because I'm going to use the other website name, which is rambutancafe.com. That's what I'm going to be using. Okay, so now let me go back and create a hosted zone. Okay, the create a hosted zone is here. So let me click on create hosted zone. So the first step is I'll call the domain name. So just provide your domain name here. So rambutancafe.com. So description is optional, but we'll put it. So it's a public hosted zone or a private hosted zone. I want this to be public because the website needs to be public. All right. So it's taking a while. So the moment the hosted zone is created, there are two parts. One is the name server information and the statement of authority are created. So what we need to do now is the next step is we have to go back to the GoDaddy there, and from there we have to update the DNS information. So to do that, first what you have to do is change the name server. Okay, so this is pretty much GoDaddy is giving us a warning and telling what you're trying to do is disastrous. So please be mindful of what you are doing. All right. So the next step is copy all the 4 information here, the name server information. All right. Then I'll go back. I'll fetch the second one. Right. I'll fetch the second one here. Second name server. Okay. And this is the second one. The first one was here. I'll copy the first one from here. Right. Put it in here. We have 2 more name servers to add. All right. Pick it up. Add it here. And the last one, need to pick it up and add it into the GoDaddy's information. Okay, now click on save. Okay, so it's asking here, changing name servers is risky and could potentially lead to your website disappearing from public view. So it's asking for the confirmation. Yes, I consent to update name servers for the selected domain. So I'll click on continue now. All right. So now what will happen in a bit is you have to watch here. It says your request is in progress. Most name server updates take effect within an hour, but could take up to 48 hours to update globally. All right. Please keep in mind about this. Okay. So let me go ahead and refresh this page now, and we should see all the DNS records are gone. We cannot see any of the DNS records. Why? Because the DNS records are coming from a different source altogether. All right, but we have told GoDaddy to where to go and check the name server information. All right, so GoDaddy is going to pass that information to the request coming in. Okay, so now the next step is, let me try to access rambutancafe.com. Let's see what's happening. This could be probably due to the cookies. All right, let me hit rambutancafe.com. Okay, this is still pointing there for me correctly. Now the next step is I need to point it to this path, right? So I'll go and pick up this IP address. I'll go and copy the IP address. All right. Now go to the hosted zone, and we have to create the first record, and we'll call it simply as @. I will put the value of the IP address. Time to live, we'll put it as 300. Routing policies, we are not going to do any routing policies at the moment. And the time to live, we will leave it at 300 only, and we'll create a record now. Now let's go and check on the DNS checker. It should get updated in a bit. All right. Currently, it has to show this IP address which we just added. You remember 3.236.42.121. This is the IP address it needs to show us. It will take a while. So, normally it takes a lot of time. Okay. So, It hasn't started updating. Okay, so let me pause the video here, and once the updates are starting to come in, I'll display it once again. Let me pause the video for now. Yeah, so welcome back, and it's taken a while, really long time to have all this propagated, and this at alone was not working. So what I had to do was, I created a record, an A record again, but without any values there. Okay, let me show you that record. So it was, I did not put any information here. I left it empty. Then I selected A record type A, and value I gave the IP address. All right, so that was one new record I created. And other than that, I also created a www.rambutancafe.com. Let us check out this also. Edit record. So I just entered www.rambutancafe.com, and I gave the IP address, and I gave save. Alright, so it is still propagating. You can see there when I go to the DNS checker and I check on rambutancafe.com, it is still propagating. Some of them are coming from older IP addresses, which were tagged to this particular URL. So it is taking a while. Okay, so as it showed, it will take like about 24 to 48 hours for the propagation to complete. But usually it happens within 15 minutes. But let's test it out now. So let me go to rambutancafe.com, and yes, it is now routing to the website. So let's go and check it out here also on the command line. Let's ping. Okay, I've already tried it once. I used the same command. It says it cannot find rambutancafe.com. I'll again try this once again from the command prompt. Ping rambutancafe.com. For some reason, it is still not picking up yet. All right, it will take a while, but once it starts picking up, once the propagation is up, it will be able to see that. All right, and let me try from another location now. So again, remember, this is all from the different DNS servers across the world. So whichever is the nearest location for that particular from where the user is trying to access, based on that location, if the information is propagated there, from there it will pick it up. If it is not able to pick up, probably it's because the DNS server within that location is still not updated. Let me try from India here. All right, so here from India, yes, it is accessible. Let me set up a VPN. Okay, this is from United States actually. It is accessible. Let me try from another location. Probably I'll try from Poland. I'll try to VPN. I have connected to Poland. All right, and let me try to see if Rambutan Cafe is accessible from Poland. Yes, so I am accessing through VPN. I have switched my VPN to Poland here, and when I'm trying to access from Poland, the rambutancafe.com is accessible. So remember, you will have to do a bit of a tweaking, and you will have to wait. And for example, GoDaddy does depend upon the record, the @a record, but AWS does not require that. So it's going to be a bit of a management there. So please do do the necessary research before setting up the right routing. So you will have to have the A record. It is most important. Then other than that, we will have to create other records like let me show you here. So there are many records here. So A record is primarily for IPv4, then IPv6. CNAME is the alias. Then for mail servers, the MX record. Okay, TXT and MX go hand in hand. Then SRV records, then CA records, and of course the NS record, or the name server record, and the statement of authority records are all very crucial. All right, so we don't have to create the NS record and SOA record here. So AWS automatically generated that for us. However, the A record I had to generate manually. All right, so if you need probably if you're going to have a whole a mail server required for, let's say if I want to create a mail server or I have a mail server and I want the mails to flow to that specific server, and let's say even if it's a different server, all right, so I have to create an MX record. So all of that is going to require some time for the information, the name server information to get propagated. So it is I have switched across multiple IP addresses, so there is a lot of information hanging here and there across the DNS information worldwide. So don't worry about that, but this is the standard procedure you will have to follow. All right. So thank you very much for watching this session. Let's check out this once before again we close it. I already tried with we try again. Yeah, let me try with I added the www record also. So yes, it is routing correctly, but it is showing not secure. Don't worry about this. Once we set the SSL within the website, then it should be okay for us. And I'm currently in Poland. The location is Poland. Let's try one more location now. Let's try with Netherlands. Yeah. Okay, I'm now connected to Netherlands. Let me try this. .ramlikencafe.com. Well, it is propagating. All right. So thank you very much for watching this session, and I'll see you in the next session.